Hey guys, I'm Jordan and you're watching Fixbook. After watching this video, your car problems stand about as much a chance as this laptop does against my hot lead. Now, make sure you stay tuned so you can see what happened to the laptop at the end of this video. And as always, don't forget to subscribe, like, and leave a comment down below. Alright guys, so today I'm going to be showing you how to change those front brake pads and rotors on your Nissan Pathfinder. Alright guys, and what you'll need for today's project, in addition to a jack and a set of jack stands, is a set of measuring calipers, some disc brake quiet grease, a C-clamp, you'll probably need a new set of brake pads, and a 3/8 ratchet with a 14mm socket, a flathead screwdriver, and a crossbar or breaker bar and 21mm socket to take off your lug nuts. Alright, and the first thing we'll do is come over here and remove this little center cap. It's like your little mini hubcap type thing. And we'll just set him off to the side. Next, we're going to break the lug nuts loose. So once we lift up the car, you'll be able to completely take your wheel off. I'm just going to get over here. Man, these guys are on here tough, so I might go and grab my little extension here so I can kind of stick them in there and give me a little extra pry and power. Alright guys, and here we are. I've got my little helper, and this will help me give it a little extra oomph. I'm just gonna pull, makes it a little bit easier. There we go. And once we've got all these guys loosened up here, we're gonna go ahead and lift up on the car and get them up and on the jack stands. And we'll set the car on the jack stands, and then we'll go ahead and begin the process of replacing your brake pads and rotors. Alright guys, and once you got your lug nuts loosened, it's time to go ahead and jack up the car. Let's take a look at where we've got our jack and jack stands. You're going to want to, get them right, something like right there. Let me get a better shot here so you can actually see where it's sitting. There we go. Right along that kind of crossbar right there. And then the jack stands are going to be right beside them, so in case the vehicle falls, it's not going to fall on you. Alright, and now we'll just finish taking off our lug nuts so we can get this wheel off and just set them off to the side right there. Also, another thing I like to do here guys is just kind of gather up your lug nuts and just set them in this little center cap piece right here so you don't lose them. Alright, and the next thing we'll want to do here is go ahead and remove both of these bolts here. It's your caliper slide pin bolts, and it's going to be a 14mm socket that you'll use to get these guys off. I'm going to loosen them up first, and then I'll just remove them with my fingers here, unless they get stubborn on me. So just like that, they come right out, and then the next thing we'll do is we'll grab our flathead screwdriver and try and compress the piston here in the caliper to give us a little head start. Alright guys, so here I am. I'm just going to take this flathead screwdriver, I'm going to stick it in there and see if I can't just wedge. Just like that. I can see I've got a hold of that piston there. And just gonna wedge just like that, and you can tell we've compressed the piston a little bit. Feels like more just that side, so I'll go in here, try and do that side as well. That feels a little bit better, so we'll go ahead and take this guy out, and now we'll take a look at these pads. Alright, now our brake pads here are looking just fine. There was a squealing noise that sounded just like the wear indicator, so I'll be doing a little bit of investigating here and I'll let you know if I find out what that is. But the main concern here is making sure you guys know how to replace these brake pads. So I'm going to go ahead and take this out and this out right here, and we'll just set these guys right off to the side. And before I do that, I'm just going to make sure you take a note here where the wear indicators on the pads are located. On this back one, we got a wear indicator right there, and on this front one, there's going to be a wear indicator right there. So just take note of that when you go to put your new pads in on the pad location for the new pads. Alright, we have now reached the most important segment of this video. Please do not skip over this part of the video. It's important for you to hear what I've got to say about rotors, and it's important to assure that after you've done your brake repair, your car will be safe to drive. So we've got a few different options here when it comes to dealing with your rotors, you can either replace your rotor, have your rotor resurfaced, or you can keep and use your current rotor as is. Now, first I'm going to go over replacing the rotor. It is an absolute must to replace the rotor if its measurement is below the minimum thickness threshold to ensure your car is safe to drive. What I'm going to describe here in just a second, whether you want or don't want to replace the rotor, that's up to you. Affordability and comfort is at hand. But if it is below the minimum thickness threshold, there's no other way about it. You must replace the rotor. Okay, so now that we understand that, and here in just a second I'll show you how to measure it and be able to tell whether it's below the threshold or not. But now we're going to talk about turning your rotors. Now, there's a couple reasons you could turn your rotor, and that's to keep your present rotor, and you can pay about $10 to Napa or O'Reilly where they have a brake lathe and they will turn your rotor for you. It's a cheaper option than buying a whole new rotor. And the reason you'd want to do that is if you've wore your brake pads down metal to metal and the metal pad is wedged in grooves there and it's all torn up, then you don't want to put new pads on that torn up surface with your old rotor, so you'd want to have your rotor resurfaced, and that's to ensure longevity for your new brake pads. The other reason to have your rotors resurfaced at a parts store is if you're having vibration problems with your rotors. That is, if you're driving down the highway and you apply the brake pedal and you feel your brake pedal vibrating. If you don't like that, that would be a good reason to have your rotors turned. But if you're really particular, just keep in mind that when the rotors are thinner, they're more likely to develop that warpage problem, because what happens is you'll be driving down the road, you'll run through a big puddle of water and the water will splash on the hot rotor and it'll warp the rotor. The thicker the rotor is, or the newer the rotor is, it's going to be less likely to develop this problem. So resurfacing the rotor, if you have that problem, will fix the problem, but it'll come back faster. So if you have the extra money and you really don't want that problem, you can go ahead and just throw money at it and just get a new rotor every time. But if you want to see the problem go away and risk it coming back or not, it may or may not come back, you can go ahead and turn it and get out of the situation cheaper and be more comfortable. Now, the last option is to just keep your rotor and put new brake pads on. That is a very acceptable option, and that's what I do about 80% of the time. Again, as long as the rotor is above the minimum threshold, because if it's not going to be safe to drive. So it's okay to put new pads on your old rotor if it's smooth like this you can see right here. As long as it's a semi-smooth surface, you can go ahead and put the new brake pads on. It's really fine. So those are the three options that you have: replacing, resurfacing, or just keeping your old one. And again, most of the time, most people are just fine keeping their old rotor and putting new pads on top of their old rotor. One more thing I almost forgot to is rotors that cause vibration, they're safe to drive. It's just an uncomfortable thing. The unsafe thing is the below the minimum thickness, but rotors that cause vibration are safe to drive. And also, this minimum thickness number, if I don't tell you exactly what the number is here in just a second, you can find it at your parts store. They'll give you a discard thickness number on your rotor, so keep that in mind too. Alright guys, now the next thing we want to do is see whether or not we need to change our rotor, and to do so you're going to measure, and the minimum thickness for this rotor I believe is going to be 26 millimeters. That's just a quick look, so do double check on that. I'm not 100% sure, but we're looking at 27.75, so that does sound about right. And another spot it's 28 even, so yeah, 26 millimeters, that's probably it. Just double check with your parts store. And this particular rotor is going to be a captured rotor, and I actually do not have the means to change this rotor today, but I'll kind of give you an idea. I'll walk you through it in words here, what you need to do. The first thing you'll do is go ahead and we're going to come behind this rotor right here, and we've got these two